I think sometimes we try to take everything about life way too serious sometimes. And the reason for this is because most of the times you probably care about people's perceptions of you to a fault. When it comes to specific things that you want to do, you should be relatively serious if you want to accomplish them. But I'm just speaking generally, like in our normal day-to-day lives and the problems that we normally have. You know, if you fail a test, get rejected by the girl you liked, you flopped an interview, didn't get the job that you wanted, you got in a heated argument with your boyfriend or girlfriend, your boss yelled at you, your teacher yelled at you in front of your crush, your shitty crypto portfolio in which you own 1/20th of a Bitcoin dropped 20% over the night. Like whatever it is, right? We get so caught up in these things that we want so desperately. And a lot of the times, or most of the times to be honest, almost everything we do is for approval, love, validation, acceptance, just masqueraded through different things like money, social status, your career, material items, etc. And through all this, we fail to realize that life is fickle, the world is fickle, most people in general are fickle. People change, things change, life changes, and most of you guys could probably attest to that. Everything is conditional on this earth to a certain degree, and everyone does what's in their best interest, and life doesn't revolve around any of us. It's the nature of people and the world and ultimately just life itself. And when you start to realize and understand this, you can kind of put things in perspective and allocate your time and energy accordingly to what's actually important and what's not. Like there's actually a lot of power in indifference. And with the election coming up in a few days, everyone's all tense and it's like, just vote and whatever happens, happens. No point in watching all this political content or podcasts. And of course, a lot of people are just kind of farming the election season. But sometimes you gotta know when to draw or where to draw the level of care as it pertains to your mental investment into something. Like knowing when to not give a shit is actually a really powerful skill. You'll waste a lot less time and energy when you can use this. You gotta be aware of what you put in your world and how these things affect your energy. Your thoughts and your mentality and how you operate on a day-to-day basis has a lot to do with what you put in your world. For example, right, if you're on social media all the time, first thing you check in the morning, last thing you check when you go to sleep, you know, during the nights you turn off the lights, you hop in bed, and for some reason you're still on your phone for another 20 minutes before your conscience tells you to go to sleep. If a majority of what you consume is social media, then that's all your world and your thoughts is going to consist of. Because our world can only consist of so much because time is limited. And a lot of the times we perceive situations as worse than they are because of our ego. Like it's a little bit narcissistic. But again, we all see life through our own lens and perspective. So sometimes it's a little bit hard not to be. Sometimes we think we're more important than we actually are, or we think we're smarter than we actually are. And yeah, maybe some of us are right, but also a lot of us are wrong. And a lot of people live in a very reactionary state, meaning that anything that happens, we instantly react. And there was a saying where the space between your stimuli and your reaction is where wisdom lies. And it's true, if you can pause and look at whatever negative situation for what it is, 9 times out of 10, it's not nearly as bad as your initial reaction. The worst case scenarios in your head almost never happens, and on the rare occasion that it does, it's never as bad as you thought it was. And this is where most people's anxieties come from, and living this reactionary state is probably one of the worst things you can do. It's like you can be angry and not act on that anger. You can be hungry and not immediately stuff your face with the pantry. You could be frustrated and not take it out on someone else for no reason. A lot of emotional maturity and strength has to do with your ability to control how you act on your emotions. It doesn't mean don't feel those emotions, it just means you don't have to act on them. Being a man doesn't mean you don't feel emotions, it just means feeling those emotions but not making decisions based off them. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you should act accordingly because of those emotions and try to validate them. And also, the older you get, the more you realize how finite time and energy are. It's like, bro, I literally have zero energy anymore to allocate towards something that serves no purpose. Whether that be people, conversations, activities, feelings, it can be anything. I don't argue, I don't debate, I don't spend time with people that drain my energy, I don't have pointless conversations. I won't spend time or energy on things that negatively affect me in general. And it might seem pretty rational and obvious, but a lot of people do otherwise because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. Like, bro, we all got a time limit. Like, stop caring about insignificant things that don't matter. Stop living your life in ways that go against what you truly want simply because of other people. Like for me, whenever some shit happens, like it's easy for me to make fun of the situation and just kind of laugh at it. Unless it's some dire, extreme situation, most things you can kind of just make fun of or laugh off or be sarcastic about. Like I don't take a lot of things serious, or a lot of people serious for that matter. Like you really gotta understand that the world is fickle, and that's why you don't take a lot of things personal either. I understand that the world and life doesn't owe me anything. And of course, it's good to be virtuous and to help others and to give back to the world, but at the end of the day, we all do what's in our best interest. It's human nature. Even the most selfless actions, even if you do something that helps someone else, you're still doing it because it makes you feel good. We all got free will, and as long as you're not negatively impacting someone else, then it's all good. Stop worrying so much and taking things so serious and live your life. Stop worrying about other people. And also, there's a lot of power in acceptance as well, like taking things as they are and being able to move forward. Like, a lot of people get hung up on situations that happen and exacerbate certain situations in their head because it's easy to live in the past and live in regret. I mean, sure, not getting stuck on something that happened is easier said than done. But again, this is where perspective comes in. And growing up, I learned to be real good at taking situations as they are, laughing at it, and just moving on. That's why whenever I'm with friends, I'm always sarcastic like 90% of the time. Like, a lot of things that people get wrapped up on really aren't that serious. And sometimes it can be a bit jaded, but things usually work out better this way. If you really think about it, 90% of the times, 90% of our problems, we already know the answer to. Like, whatever you're beating yourself up over or problems that you've experienced in life, they had simple answers. Sometimes you just gotta learn how to laugh things off, and also life's also a lot more fun this way as well. And in the era of social media, a lot of people have been conditioned to take optics and vanity extremely serious. Because they care so much, they desperately want that approval. And a lot of people let it drastically affect or change the way they live. They care so much to the point where some people unfortunately self-delete themselves because of this. Because they're so in their head about optics and vanity and how they're perceived by, again, people who don't matter. And then they apply that to everything they do in life. When you live with this mentality, you will drown yourself. When you overthink, you create problems that aren't even there. Realistically, no one's really paying attention or thinking about you as much as you think they're thinking about you because they're wrapped up in other people thinking about them. You overthink because you care too much about what other people think of you. And the reality is that most things you overthink about, most things that you're worried about when it comes to other people's perceptions of you, really aren't that important. And at the end of the day, this doesn't mean don't give a shit about anything and take everything in life as a joke, not at all. But when something happens in your life, something that you perceive as negative, try not to take it so serious or personal at that. Honestly, if you're good and healthy and the people around you are good and healthy and you're trying your best every single day, then everything's fine. And that's the best that any of us can really do. It's not the end of the world. Everything's okay. Just try to breathe, try to laugh, and just don't take it so serious. Because I promise you, it's most likely not that serious. The world's gonna keep spinning. Maybe, maybe not. But life goes on, even after we're all gone. And again, this doesn't mean that life is meaningless. Quite the opposite, actually. Because some people will go to the we're just a speck of dust in the universe after smoking some weed and getting high with their friends at 2 a.m. and believe that we're all just monkeys on a floating rock in a universe named after a chocolate bar. But no, life obviously matters. The growth you experience matters. The connections you make matters. The impact you have on others matter. But all I'm saying is try not to get so caught up. Whatever your goals are, whatever you want out of life, the things that plague your mind with depression and anxiety, just try to relax, breathe, laugh, and move forward. But yeah, just try not to take it so serious. Try to find reasons to laugh. Realize what's worth giving mental energy to and what's not. And yeah, don't take it so serious. Oh yeah, and also, I made a poll yesterday on who you guys voted for, and I was actually pretty surprised. I thought it was gonna be like 80% Trump, 15% neither or don't really care, and then maybe 5% Kamala at max. But no, I think there was like 18-19% that voted for Kamala. But I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. I like getting to know you guys. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna do more polls. Thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you stay true, and I'll talk to you real soon. Peace.